Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Satellite Image Deep Learning podcast series. So far, the focus of the series has been conversations with people working on inspiring technical challenges related to applying deep learning to satellite imagery. Today, I am branching out beyond the technical, and the conversation is about career pathways into this exciting domain. In this video, I catch up with Philip Robinson to discuss his career path and hear how he transitioned from working in computer security research to working on environmental and satellite imaging challenges at the Global Fishing Watch. I give you Philip. Hi, Phil. Great to have you on the show today. How are you?
Doing all right. How about you?
Yeah, good, thanks. So who's Phil and what is it that you do?
So I am a scientific programmer with Global Fishing Watch. At Global Fishing Watch, we're trying to track all human activity in the ocean. Mm-hmm. And one of the primary strategies we're using for doing this is through satellite images, because a lot of boats don't correctly report their locations or don't necessarily have the technology to, depending on which region the boats are coming from.
Right. And so they're up to something they shouldn't be, or literally they do not have the up-to-date technology on their ship, right?
Yeah, or for whatever reason, that technology, that information is barred from release by a government or whatever, and so we make as much of that data public as possible.
Fascinating. So anybody will be able to log on and see, okay, in this area there might have been X% of ships doing, which were not being tracked, essentially.
Yeah, or at least just where the boats are. So we try to annotate when they're reporting their own location, and then when we have to find other means to identify them. So
that's a really worthwhile and fascinating task to be working on. And what is your role in this at Global Fishing Watch?
So I'm a scientific programmer, and this is kind of an intermediary between the research team or the machine learning and research team, and I guess it's a support position for the machine learning and research team. So this is I'm writing currently doing a lot of work in dragging public providers of satellite images. So this is we'll use like NASA, or we'll use so we have a collection of different satellites that are provided to us. Not provided to us, but provided publicly. And we need a way to catalog all of the scene footprints across different satellite technologies. And I'm writing tools that allow for us to gather all of that in a time and region.
Right. So you're the first and probably a vital step in the chain of creating data sets that will then go on to be either processed or actually used for training models.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're developing labeling tools, and we already have existing models. But one of the things that we've run into is that our models were heavily tuned for a specific satellite provider for a specific project, and now we want to generalize that across many providers and many satellites. So
sounds like a very ambitious project. It'll be really interesting to see how that turns out. Yeah. And how about yourself? What's your background?
So I started with a degree in computer science from Western Washington University, and my interests there was computer security primarily, but I also just liked math problems, and I eventually ended up working in computer securities research and programming languages research, and those exposed me to topics like machine learning and Bayesian inference and different sorts of problems that kind of one of the things that in a programming languages research project is we would have different people compete to solve problems in new languages, and that introduced me to some environmental sciences projects, like some of the work that Tom Dietrich does at is it Oregon State or University of Oregon? It's one of the two, but he's their big stats guy. And there was one of the challenge problems was in bird tracking, and that kind of opened my eyes to seeing the space of applications of machine learning to environmental sciences.
Right.
And from there, I did some side projects on measuring light pollution using pedestrian cameras. So we're looking at like, can you use a cell phone camera to identify what types of light bulbs are in a photograph in order to get a spectral profile of a area, so that you can measure the light pollution impacts in different regions. And all of that kind of led me into grad school, where I ended up doing research in acoustic anomaly detection at Oregon Health and Sciences University, where I focused on data from the Aloha Field Observatory. So it was deep sea marine acoustic anomaly detection. And then I guess kind of ended up working with Happy Whale, which was like a way to track individual whales from citizen science and civilian submissions of photographs. And so kind of took advantage of opportunities to pressure my career towards environmental work as much as I could.
That's really nice. So you took techniques you were using in a completely different domain, applied them through side projects to sort of ecological challenges, and sort of transitioned to working in that domain full time. That's really a nice perspective there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Would you have any particular advice for people that maybe, were in your position, a few years back and want to get into this domain?
I would say, so at least keep pushing for it and know that there's going to be some oscillations. So like when I worked at Happy Whale, after that, COVID hit, our funding model changed, and I had to find other work. I ended up working at back in computer securities for 2 years, and it was good. But then when I had the opportunity to go on to Global Fishing Watch, it was I jumped at the chance, and it was just a matter of keeping a lookout for what's available, making good filters for when you're searching for types of positions, and keep track of every company you've ever heard of that's done anything cool.
Right.
That's like one of the hardest things when looking for ways to make this make environmental work profitable, or at least sustainable for your life. It seems to be, it's just knowing where to apply. And I think that's the case for most specialty fields, like most fields where there's it's driven by interest much more than profit, perhaps.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, how were those initial contacts made with, your employers at Happy Whale and Global Fishing Watch? Was that impromptu, or was that sort of formal application to a role that you saw? Or?
That was just a straight application to a role. I think that I had found them because, as I said, I track. So one of the strategies I use on LinkedIn, I will track every company because I expect their names to change over time and them to dissolve and start up. And so when I actually am looking for things like work, I don't have to remember any of that stuff. I don't have to have an out-of-date list because they update it for me. And I think that I added them to my list at some point. So I was just checking on them every month or so, and was like, oh, okay, that position looks like something that I can do, and I can do good contributions with. So I applied and then went through a standard interview process. So.
Right. Is that an actual list, like in a spreadsheet, or is it somehow LinkedIn allows you to, say these are the companies I want to work at one day. Let me know when they have a job.
It's it's neither. I guess it's you can follow companies. And I only follow companies that fit that criteria for me. So I won't follow Microsoft or Facebook or anything like that. I don't follow any person who is not in that space. Unfortunately, the only way to get it out, I have a script that I wrote that will extract those that list for myself, and I have handed that off to people before. But LinkedIn doesn't have a very good interface for actually exporting that list.
So you've got a script, and it's every now and again querying LinkedIn and saying, tell me if these companies have a job for me.
Oh, not even that. I just check for the company names. And then whenever I would be looking, I would just go through the name list manually and scroll through it, and I'd say, okay, this one looks interesting today. So
it sounds so obvious now you described it like that, but it's not something I've ever thought of doing.
Yeah. Well, the biggest problem that I ran into is when I first was looking, when I was like fresh out of undergrad, I wasn't looking for environmental stuff, but I was just looking for small startups, and startups don't last, and they changed their name and they got bought out. And I kept on like writing down names of companies that just simply didn't exist a year later.
Yeah.
And so that's what led me to use LinkedIn this way.
Right, fantastic. And for people that might be interested in Global Fishing Watch, I mean, are they hiring at the moment? Or, what kind of people are they looking for?
Yeah, we have some open positions in fisheries analyst for more of the like policy, fisheries biology, fisheries management sort of space. And then in the next month or so, we're going to be opening some positions on the research team, either in like the with things that would have a little more data science exposure and a little more satellite exposure. But we're still forming those job descriptions and figuring out exactly what that's going to be. So that'll be in about a month. So
Fantastic.
I guess right now, what is it right now? It's January, so that'll be February.
Yeah, cool. Well, excited to have the scoop on that one, and I'll put the details in the notes below the video. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, out of curiosity, are you working on any other side projects at the moment?
Not at the moment. Right now, I like every once in a while I go back to my graduate research stuff. But right now I'm just trying to focus on getting Global Fishing Watch stuff in a good space. Yeah.
That's a big project right there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for catching up with me today and telling me about your background and how you landed the role there. That's really interesting stuff. And what's the best place for people to reach you if they want to get in touch?
Let's see here. I guess LinkedIn's not bad.
Yeah, LinkedIn's not bad. Cool.
So let's do that. I'm Philip Robinson on LinkedIn. Yeah, and I'm also in the in your Discord. So I mean, so that's a great way to get a hold of me.
Yeah, get in there. Have you got? Is your name Philip in there, or have you got something else?
You know, it probably isn't. I probably, now that I'm in a professional Discord, I should probably make sure my name is professional.
It's funny. Some people have got very funny avatars and usernames on that. Is that really that person?
I think that my name in Discord is Time Debtor.
Time Debtor.
A picture of a ice cube in the shape of a skull floating in a glass of beet juice.
Nice. I like it. All right, we'll add that one in the show notes as well. Well, thanks so much, Philip. Have a great day. I'll catch you later.
All right. Good chatting.